tracks, red eyes, clothes everywhere. Missing a moment when you're still there.
In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
I'm calling it roll, I believe.
Okay.
All right, Councilwoman Corsair,
Here.
Councilman Menon.
Here.
Council President Michaels,
Present.
Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor,
Here.
Councilman Park. And Councilman sorry, yeah.
Perfect. And if I can, before we start, I just wanted to thank DPW Director Cassidy. Early this morning driving, him and the whole team did an incredible job. It was pretty amazing. I was driving down Woodland early this morning, beautiful, fine, and then hit a wall. It's like, oh, welcome to Englewood. So congratulations to him and his team. So thank you to everybody. So first, a pro engineer update. Andy, do you want to come on up? Thank you.
Good evening. I have, unless you want an order, I could.
Your please.
Okay, so we have a couple things for you tonight. The 2024 road program, the Riverside Cooperative.
Yeah.
So we sent you the list of roads, which I'll highlight for the public. Collin Lane, Florida Report, Atwood Avenue, Morris Road, Hamilton Place, Northrop Lane, J Street, Lawrence Parkway, east of Angle, West Clinton, Tenafly Road to Railroad, Knoll Road, Forest Road, Birchwood Place, Ridge Road, Washington Street Bypass, which is behind the buildings, and Lawrence Court, with one exception, Ridge Road. There is a drainage project we need to do on that road, and Ridge Road, there's about 300 feet of drainage. We have to get that done separate of this. If we don't get it done in time, that will knock it down. So we are going to include it in the quantities for the Riverside Cooperative, because we have to have those in really by this Friday. So that project move forward. It's gonna be bid by end of March with opening bids in April and then award in May. So if you're okay, these are all roads that have been discussed in this council over the last 3 or 4 years. They're all red roads from the old paved list. Those roads are picked, and I'll get to my second one, if I can just divert, because PSE&G has a massive project in town.
Right.
So PSE&G right now is proposing to excavate 5 miles of road.
Yeah.
So those 5 miles, from a perspective of good and bad, there's a lot of disruption. So they'll start, literally they plan to start 224. They're going to start over by McKay Drive in West Ivy Lane. So right on the edge of the Englewood border. They will continue to work for the remainder of the year and probably into early next year. When they're done, they will swap out with us as far as the town. So they'll take the width of the trench because they're responsible to pave half the road, and they'll take half the roads and pave them in their entirety. So you'll have 2.5 miles of brand new road.
And are these red roads or yellow?
They're a mix of all the above. If it's a green road, they'll pave all of it.
Yeah.
So it's anything that's done in the last 5 years, they'll pave the whole thing. So that's a good thing too. When they're done, you're gonna have 2.5 new miles of road plus what you're doing, your pavement program. Then next year's program will be us paving the remainder of the roads. So we'll pick them up. That's the swap out. If it doesn't cost you any money to do that, then you'll have 5 new miles of road plus what you do this year. And then you have your next year. So that's actually good.
Particularly because we have new council people, but I'd be equally as interested. Is there a way to come back to us on, I saw the report a couple of years ago that were red, yellow, green. It would be great, 2 things. One, it would be super awesome to show that I'm making up every single number. The 25 red roads were down to 10. That would be one thing to celebrate. And then the second thing is, is that like an evergreen? How often should we revisit that report and make sure that the yellow roads have not become extreme red or something?
That's a good point. So in this year's road program, so once you decide the roads, we're going to give you a proposal this year. for our road program, it's gonna include updating the pavement management reports because we're about 8 years later from when we first did it.
Wow.
So now it's time to update it. So that'll include updating the last 8 years of paving. You've paved over 40 roads in the last 8 years, which is a lot. It's a lot. It's, more than any town that I know has done.
great.
So you've done a big hit. Along with that, you've done a lot of maintenance too. So
Right.
the way you keep roads from getting orange and red, we have the green, yellow, orange, red is maintenance. So once you pave, it's maintenance. So you actually have done a great job. So you'll get a brand new report by, like, say, May.
That's great.
Just for PSCNG, I know it's on the website, but real quick, the roads that are affected are Crabtree, McKay, Malcolm, Coleman, Leonard, Lindley, Roberts, Tenafly Road, Cherry, Clover, Evergreen, Walnut, Willow, Hamilton, Harson, Knickerbocker, Oak, Palmer, Country Club, Hoskin, Northrop, Palmer, Sandish, Tennekill, Wilkins, and Windsor. So that's a lot of roads. So again,
We all got our letters too, just.
right, and it's gonna be going on. You're gonna have constituents of yours that are gonna come to you and go, they dug my road up. It's okay to deflect those calls to me.
So just so I'm super clear then, it might have just gone out. Oh, it's still there. It's
Double
just
that
not-
screen goes out is when the TV starts to kick.
Oh, gotcha. All right. We're waiting for some weird television to come up. But just so I'm clear, when we have PSE&G dig up the road, you're saying you're accounting for that in your plan.
Correct.
You're not repairing anything they're going to dig up.
We are not. So the beauty of the PSCNG program is they've met with us over a period of 6 to 8 months.
Oh,
And we've coordinated our roads with their roads, and we've coordinated getting 2.5 miles of your roads done when they're done, which I think is a big.
oh, great. Okay.
So we have another opportunity to discuss the roads on the list and for incremental roads for this year.
So this is the proposal. Depending on coming out of the budget session, if there's additional funding that we put to it, then Andy would provide us with the additional roads that we did.
Yeah, let me explain to you how the river, because you're new, how the Riverside Cooperative works. I have to give them a budget, let's just say $1 million right now. $1 million. I submit to them a list of roads that usually is around $1 million, depending on the prices, because the asphalt prices change. I give them some extra roads. When the Riverside Cooperative awards the master contract, which is Northville, they'll then send it to you to award your contract. At the time of that award, you can add or take away roads at that point. Once you award your contract, you're now locked into those roads unless you want to do a change order for up to 20%. If it's going to be more than 20%, you want because it's a cooperative, you can do a whole nother contract and issue a whole second contract. So it depends on how your budget falls. We can adjust it. It's written to be very flexible. Tenafly takes the most advantage of this contract for all towns.
And so it sounds like yes, we'll have another opportunity. This
You do, yes, you do. Yeah, yes.
And then when you're going to circulate the red, yellow, green, kind of road.
I am. So if we can, because the Riverside Cooperative needs to get their bid out and you're the largest town in it, I need to get them these roads in quantities. As long as we can do that, then we'll get your proposal to do our design, update the pavement management program, and you'll get a new one. But I can send you the last one we have updated. So I'll send it to council so you have.
Can we also confirm, because I don't know which roads are county roads that may be outside of our purview.
They're not in our pavement program, but they're showing the map. So that the county roads are on the map, but they're not ours. We don't rate the county roads.
Right, but that'll be delineated so it's
Correct. So, yes.
Good, so is there a consensus that these are the right roads? Okay, that sounds great, Andy. Thank you.
No problem. And again, on PSE&G, if you get constituents who have issues or call Borough Hall, get those to me. We have a person that's coordinating with them on this the whole time. So if there's a complaint, an inquiry, a question, if somebody loses gas for a period, we can help. Don't let the residents sit out there without feeling they don't have help.
All right, has PSCNG already communicated and?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so we have it on our website. PSCNG hangs door knockers on their doors. They put a flyer in the mailbox and they contact the people if they'll respond.
Okay.
PSCNG is a very good communicator.
When's it all done?
I mean, it depends on weather and school and how things work, because They can't go onto a road and do all their work unless all the residents respond to their questioning. It's very important because if you're gonna be shutting your gas off for at least a day or so. Or over a day. You know, this is 500 by the end of the year, it should be done. I would say by December, and they'll pave, like we will, they'll pave next spring. Okay, move on to pickleball and multi-use court, okay.
So I think that if we could have this shared to the Zoom land, ladies. This is one of the attachments. Would you be-
Right, it's a double, it looks like that. So we have a little background, I was here. October-ish, we talked about the old skate park at Roosevelt Commons. That skate park is not being used for anything right now, it's in somewhat of disrepair. This old skate items and principles were removed from that, so it's just an empty space with nothing on it. That is proposed to be repurposed by council, the repurposing was half of it to be used for pickleball, half to be used as a multi-sport court. Multi-sport being lined for volleyball, foursquare, or whatever, I'll work with Jamie, whatever she would like on there, we can line it, it's not a big deal. The big deal was half for pickleball, half for multi-use court. When we were here, there was discussion of 2 pickleball courts. Some people talk about more, some people being residents that came to the meeting. We took it, looked at a sketch, and we were able to fit 3 pickleball courts, so I have in your packet tonight. And I blew it up just for purposes of showing you. This was what was here in October, 2 pickleball courts on the school side of the multi-use court, and then the remainder was multi-use, which would be volleyball, foursquare, whatever Virginia wants. When we looked at it, the court is 100 by 120. We can actually fit 3 pickleball.
So safety impact at all?
No, it fits regulation. So 3 courts fit within the regulation for run area, safety. It meets the pickleball regulations. And that doesn't change the pay there. We can't do.
Right.
That's what it is.
I don't know if it's all that to the conversation, but the pickleball courts also, are they also can be used as paddle?
Different game.
Yeah, they can. Different sorts of. See.
Yeah. That's what it does.
It's a different game. So if this is paddle, you can have 3. You'd have 2. And then you need a different fence too. So the fence around here is gonna be, we're gonna continue I think it's an 8-foot high fence if they replace it. And we'll put it up and it'll be an 8-foot high fence separating the courts. If you're a paddle, it's almost. 10 to 12.
Don't have fences separating the courts this way.
No, you don't need it, nor do you want it.
Yeah, exactly.
Pickleball really is a, we'll call it a north to south game. There's some lateral movement, not as much as.
I mean, this would be great, this is, if they add another court.
I just need you to say, because we're submitting a proposal to do this, I just need you to say 3 pickleball or 2, and I'm ready to go.
Is there consensus?
I would say 3 would be my vote.
Yeah.
Versus 2.
Right, then if you don't know. The tennis courts is just to the east side of this, the street tennis courts, one of those courts also has 2 striped pickleball courts. So you actually, one thing you do is you have 5 in here, which is good.
Status of that court reasonable or?
Yeah, that court was done, those courts were done 5 or 6 years ago, and those courts were lit. Those tennis courts are the only ones.
Will these be moved?
No, unless you, I mean, it could be in the future, but right now, no.
No,
Great.
volleyball is hard court.
The whole thing would be hard court paved and, it would be like color coded, so we could play the colors depending on what JV wants to do.
Is there any timing on this?
We'd want it to be a summer project and it's new paving. So when you do tennis or courts that are coated with that sand paint coat, you need to really do it in like July, August, or September. The window outside, that temperatures up.
Great.
Okay, so we'll go 3 courts.
Yep.
The other thing, now the only other thing I had tonight, it was to talk a little about the swim club, if you want.
I would like that, but I'm also, what I'm gonna do, because I guess it was in the agenda and then out, I'm gonna forward it to my fellow council people who didn't grab it before, so they can see it here as well. It was supposed to be shared here, but we're having, password issues, so. Why don't you start and they can look at it on their thing while we talk about it.
And I don't need a decision tonight. We're getting to a point where we have to packages and start designing it. The project is the project's a 2022 open space grant, which is a match. So the project has to be completed by December of this year and closed out. Means all paperwork submitted and documents for reimbursement. Ideally for me, I would love to have a decision on this no later than mid to end of March, so we can do our design in April, bid it in May, and do our construction like July, August. Ideal. So yeah, you have time, but and there's a couple of questions that came up. So in just like big picture, a grant was submitted in 22 to redo the swim club into a open space. And that open space in the grant had the following. It had repurposing the building that's on site, the one you kind of walk on to the on site, fixing the sidewalks and or RC areas. Moving the pool, if we escape part of the pool. Heading down towards the Tenafly.
So it's a story club we're talking about.
Eagle.
Specifically, golf.
Yes, the existing, correct.
I am just. So you'll be able to pull it up what he's got kind of small.
You know, where the pool was supposed to be a skate park. When you went past the skate park, so it's a Tenafly, was supposed to be a natural area with overlook wildlife hunting area. Whatever is left in that area by the pool and that will also be green space, it removes some impervious area. The two dog parks were going to remain, to be modified to be made a little bigger, and there was going to be a raised planting that area to be able to do like community garden.
It's disabled.
It's a current community garden,
That's fine. This
additional.
is additional for people who are differently able. So they can access it with a wheelchair.
Yeah, and the whole, because it's open space money, every component in the park we can, we're supposed to make it accessible. So the walkways proposed will be able to be accessible. There'll be improved access to the park that like the high school uses, the other swimming club uses. Something that has disabilities there, so you're enhancing the park for people with disabilities.
And you'll see that in the attachments now that I sent you. So if you go, if just to give the background, Andy, so we had received $87,000 from the county of open space funds from them.
Yep.
And this is the rendering that they accepted, or these are the components that can you explain again, like,
So this is,
With our-
this is an improved version of what was submitted kind of grant. There was a, we call it a much more basic drawing showing you put come in, modify the building, have a pond area, garden, like wildlife area, skate park, like a wildlife overlook area, the dog parks, and then the gardening area with the improvement access to the park for people with disabilities and also improved access to people across the street. There is flexibility with inside this. The mayor and I had a meeting with the people who were involved in the dog park today, and they actually made a suggestion, which is pretty good, which was taking the small dog park, which is on the north side of the park, and connecting it down here to the dog park for all one separate access, and then move the raised gardens between here up to make it more of a greenscape area up north, and then the gardens would be dog park down lower for separate access. That was actually a pretty.
So there's, you're talking about there's currently a basketball court or basketball.
That would be.
And all of them, I think.
There's all the other side down right kind of where we are, like, you're talking about that, there's one court for the dog park, and then the other dog park would be kind of aligned to that.
Right, so
I think if we walk in and look to the left of dog parks and separate access point.
Correct, so when you walk, right now, if I can picture, if you can picture, you walk in between and under a building.
Correct.
In this project, to your left, that building's coming down. The right building will be rehab. To have two unisex bathrooms and a storage area.
We got them, we done.
And that would be the next phase, that's not part of the stage, but that would be the next phase, you don't have a bunch of money. there's a building in the back left of the property, which is a pump house, that's part of this, and that's being taken out. That's being taken out to revamp this open space and take hardscape out.
What she's pointing to there, the pool, the existing pool.
The existing pool is right here, but that's now a state.
And that's gonna be over the existing pool. We don't dig it up. It's been filled in and it would be over it.
So will it be paved over it right now, it's rocks?
Gravel.
Yeah, so the idea.
We actually paid money for
The rocks?
it. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
There was
gravel.
there was two ideas behind the skate park. One was a traditional skate park like you had at Roosevelt Commons, with the normal traditional skate pieces there that can be used for different types of moves. Jamie, your recreation director, got a second one, which is like a plaza skate park, like a city street skate park.
Yeah,
So
that's in your attachment as well.
we were gonna gear this towards a city street, so when you walk in, it would be fenced in. It would have things like, a little higher curves, you'd have some rails that they can drag across. It would have some elements they could jump on and jump back off, and there'd be some plantings inside of it to make it look like a streetscape area where anybody could sit. There'd be some stairs in there, because they like to walk downstairs. And it could be used as a skate park or a general sitting area. The only thing I can tell you is it would need some signs that say, this is a skate park that's first skating. If nobody's skating,
Then you
for
can
just
sit.
general sitting, and because it's still gonna be a nice area, it's gonna be like it's gonna be like a little plaza inside of it.
The entirety of the area that the pool currently consumes will be converted into a skate park.
Almost, so we have one catch with this whole project, we have to keep the impervious area less than what was there. If we increase it, then we need to do a stormwater detention system below this park. In a little history, not far from here is a project with residential housing, which used to be industrial, and they have sent contamination onto this site. So this site was part of a DEP funded site, it was cleaned up, the groundwater is being cleaned up over there, and it's gonna take time, so we really don't want to approach it to that area. So we don't want to be designing a detention system for it.
So at the moment, the impervious coverage is below.
On this plan, we're significantly less than.
And how much, how much?
Percentage wise, how much are we converting over to pervious?
You're taking out, so on the pool, about half of the pool, we're gaining back in green space. We're taking the basketball court out, but it's just small, like one, small.
Right, yep.
And we're taking part of it, one half of the building. So you're probably gaining back, 2,000 or 3,000 square feet of green space out of what was in asphalt. The paths that we propose.
Mhm.
The paths in front will be concrete to provide really good handicap accessibility to the main site back to the flagpole. And then the paths around here, which will still be handicap accessible, was made of a recycled crushed granite that's somewhat porous. That'll still allow handicap accessibility, but be less impact to the environment, be a hardscape. So it will allow some impervious.
So we heard from, that you heard from the dog park advocates, or at least one of them, about switching the raised flower beds with the dog park so that we've got all of our dog parks on one side and the raised flower beds on, next to the pollinator garden, which moves into the community plaza. I noticed in the pollinator garden, we have about 4 different benches. I know that the raised flower beds were advocated for actually many years. This actually goes back before COVID. There, we had the head of the garden at the time, her name was Carol Hodges. And at the time, they were talking about putting the raised flower beds on top of that pool because it didn't have anything else going on. I'm not sure if you were part of those discussions. Do you know if it benefit, like I don't know that population, but does it benefit them to have maybe some more benches by the community garden area where they can put their stuff down? Is there anything to be said about adding some bench?
I think as long as council's okay with the change. What I would do is the building is the brown areas. So I would now slide the pollinator garden as far west as I could.
Okay,
I put the raised flower beds between the pollinator garden and the building, so they're gonna be accessible. So a person with disabilities has to walk at least the distance or travel.
that's
the distance.
what I'm
Right.
thinking too, right?
And then I would add at least 3 benches by raised flower beds, so somebody can sit there. And then it allows,
Oh, but they would be on the other side though,
they'd be, yeah, they
Okay.
could be right here, right behind this, so they could be close to
the bathroom.
Close to the bathroom. But I'm not an arborist or a planter person, my wife is, and I'm showing this today, she's like, having their raised flower beds by the pollinator garden is good, because they'll.
Cross pollinate.
Cross-pollinate, yeah.
It's actually a good idea. No, it's the pollinator gardens are gonna be geared towards the butterfly garden. But it'll attract hummingbirds. it'll attract
Hummingbirds
bees,
or pollinators.
But it'll be like,
It's
there's always like butterfly bushes and things of that nature, maybe in the back corner, maybe some milkweed on the backside. to attract
right, so it's not like actually looking to have like
Hives.
beehives. It's not that.
This
It's
is not-
planting certain types of vegetation, which encourages butterflies, bees, the types of critters that pollinate the flowers.
And hummingbird.
Now, would it make more sense to Data John Park where it's like the botanical garden? I'm just curious. I just want to make that, because we have limited space in the town. I just want to make sure we're using this space most efficiently to satisfy as many people in the town, residents of the town. So I'm like, that's why I'm confused. If we have a place that's a flower, botanical garden, I would think that made a little more sense there, and then we can use maybe this space for something else, but I'm there and I'm gonna. I'm shaking it off, and this is very serious.
When is this specifically part? So this was a 2022 grant. So the grants are.
No, this was-
And they said in the next month, we should have a rough
Yeah,
design
yeah.
that we can submit.
Yeah, because we have to get out the bid because. It's a 22 grant, you have to have it done, closed out, constructed, and reimbursement like December of 24. Could you apply for an extension and a change of the items here? You can, but that's not guaranteed to get it, because the county is always pulling money. Their open space is underfunded.
And I
We
want
don't need it.
to clarify though, because like I said, 2022 grants. So right now at this time of year, 2 years ago is when we were banding about ideas for open space 2022. And then it was debated and we had all these different constituencies coming in. We had the teens for the skate park, we had the dog park people, we had the community garden people. And then that is ultimately what became, and then I guess the stormwater management considerations that had to be made. And that's what got accepted by the county. So now we're running out of time to institute the plan because of all of the work that goes into this design. So it's basically something that, yeah, it's this, but with the tweaks to this plan that make more sense. So, okay, so the idea that we'll move the gardens, we'll move the skate park, we're gonna move the dog park and flush it out. Year 2, we're gonna talk about getting a nice working ADA compliant bathroom that's not afforded in year 1 of this. But this has kind of been answered, and we're tweaking because we have $87,000 that came from the county and we don't want to jeopardize. So I'm just kind of giving you the whole background of why, but go ahead.
You have. On any park project, there's always like 3 issues. Totally active. Totally passive, or some version of all of the above. And this became, this is like 2 years ago, this became all 3. Passive, couple of different kinds, active, very active, state parks very active, and adult park became all 3. So you have both large and small dog park, and you're making the dog park much bigger than we're doubling the size of it. You get very active in state parks, so skating,
Right by the high school.
right, the skating. We've done a lot of skate parks. Once you build it, if you build it right, they will come, so that's gonna create a lot of activity. You don't necessarily have a lot of room for another big activity here that's active. So then you kind of hump your head and make the rest kind of passive around, so you get all 3% in one spot. The site does have some limitations, and the site Though the site looked very big, it's not that big, and I'll explain to you why. This is a tributary to the Tenneco Road. From here to this path, through the pool, and like that, this is all unusable space. So I can't do anything with this space. I can do very passive green. So I can take an area here and make this greener, leaving the dog park it was. But the pool become the skate park of the pool, but the area around here is basically useless other than over the over. And I apologize if you guys were here. Back in 21, we did a environmental assessment of the property, and you could not build the building, you could not put a big field there. There's too much, there's both wetlands, slug hazard area, stream erosion areas that really encompass about half of this site.
Basically, you can't dig.
And you can't go under.
You can't go.
Well, then the second part of the environmental restriction, so the
Right.
second part is below the ground.
Yeah.
About 2 blocks away, somebody contaminated the water below the ground, so we have to try as much as we can to not penetrate down or add more text. There's still no clear, which it will be cleaned up, there's no hazard to anybody. But that makes us not want to add impervious over here, but the problem with adding impervious in the area we can. We're surrounded by environmentally restricted wetlands to coaching. So now we have to discharge that to the Tenneco. Right now, we're not doing anything. We have to create a discharge point. We need a DEP permit, which takes
So why-
6 to 12
Why don't
months.
we see, so you gotta decide next month, why don't you share with David amongst yourselves?
I can leave
any
it.
thoughts?
Yeah.
This is a consent plan, you know,
Yeah.
there's
But-
a partiality at the margin and we'll
Yeah.
get over it.
So-
So, yeah, take, look, take it. Tansy, I'd like,
I love how figures back.
I'd actually like to propose a little tweak to what Adam's saying. Since you met with the dog park people and, I asked and we're talking about moving a couple things. I do have one more question about fencing, because I know on that plan, there was like a fence between. Initially, there's a fence between the dog park and then the skate. What are your thoughts on fencing? And then I'll tell you what my thinking is after you finish.
So my thoughts on fencing were modified a little today by the meeting with the dog park folks. In that they recommend a 6-foot high fence, so pretty much like the middle of my forehead. They said that there's big dogs that go there that jump over the current 4-foot high fence. So we would fence the dog park with a 6-foot high fence. But as you walk in off of Grove, the parking lot across the street, or even you come from the old parking lot, you come across, you'd be able to walk in the 15-foot wide path that takes you back to the activities that are in there, and then or go past it. And then walk directly into the dog park, separate access. So they would be completely fenced in. Right now, the whole park is fenced in. The folks on the adjoining street is Hamilton.
Yeah.
Is it Hamilton?
Howard.
It's right here.
Joining street.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's a little side street.
Hickory?
Hickory, I'd say Hickory.
Yeah.
The residents on Hickory currently have a fence between them and all the activity. It's only my recommendation. They have an opaque fence. It's a wooden stockade fence. I would keep that along that side to kind of keep their separation. They had it. Sure, decision whether to keep it or not mine. Once you have that, you don't need, in my opinion, the fence along the Tenneco anymore. It just causes a flood obstruction anyway. Water and debris gets caught in there. The one between the pool and the other pool in the parking lot, you don't need a fence there either. So why waste the money to put them up?
Right, so say,
It saves you a lot of money. You save yourself like 1,000 fence.
like that.
You do.
So then this is what I would suggest as an adjustment to what Adam's saying. For the next meeting, can you then re-forward the updated rendering with
If
these,
you want me to,
with these kind of feedback?
I
You know,
can have a new rendering done by the end of next week and forward it to.
because of the dog change and then like we said, the fence change.
Absolutely.
I mean, is there anything else?
Yeah, and do we know if the community garden people or, any of those people might have an objection to making the change?
I have not.
I see them on Thursday. I mean, they're not gonna have a problem moving it across. It's literally
Right
the
now,
same
it's,
thing.
right now it's.
So-
next to
They'll be
the-
right behind the bed.
There
I
anyway.
I think it'd be better for.
Yeah, and in the community garden beds, so you understand, we had to make them ADA accessible. So they're about as wide as the table, 4 feet wide, and they're about as high, a little less, not quite as high as this table. So if you were in a wheelchair, you could access and use it, and they'll have hardscape around this, so they can utilize it just like anybody else.
So I do just want to explain something that I did learn about these raised flower beds is so the idea is that they don't have like an elderly person, they're not bending in a flower bed. That's the idea, right? So they're higher.
Right.
And then just one thing I wanted to say, because I'm liaison on environmental commission, is one of the open space ideas is the biodiversity. You know, the goals are biodiversity in our community. And I read an article that said monarch butterflies are down to 5% of their original population now. So this idea of like, I guess, some milkweed or
Yeah,
some,
along, yeah, but as far as with the dog park, well, in my opinion, along the area between the parking lot north of you and that, like, you know.
because they said that that'll get repopulated one garden at a time. So I think we could do our part here with this space. I think it's exciting. And I think it really addresses a lot of different constituencies. You know, as we've,
In the plan you have with the modification you talked about, I don't need to apply for a grant modification. So if you can move things around. If you
So why don't we take Julie's, councilman's advice, let's make those
Concept plan.
updates and so that,
Okay, so I'll have you a concept plan, a revised plan by next round.
thank you.
thank you.
Recreation, friend, is that Andy as well?
Should we stay to talk about the open space 2024 ideas?
I think that's what Adam's asking right now.
I think if he doesn't mind saying, it's valuable to have some this feedback with our thoughts.
Sure. So as far as the local recreation improvement grant, the DCA grant, I had reached out to Jamie Camden and asked what projects were in the works or what they would like to see in the works. And the two that she recommended for the council to consider submitting grants for would be improvements to the Little League field or improvements to Sunnyside with the dugouts and that area over there as well. So I don't know. I know, Andy, you've done a walkthrough on the Little League field, certainly, right?
I know Sunnyside well, so any athletic field complex where you can improve the complex and allow, especially for Tenafly, allow for better use by folks with disabilities, your grant goes way up on the list. When it doesn't allow that, the grant goes way down on the list. So there's been a number of towns we've worked for. The last one would be the borough of Montvale. They took an existing athletic field, like a Little League field, and we installed synthetic turf in the infield only. So the infield was synthetic turf, all pre-lined, all pre-done. The outfield stayed natural grass. It does a lot of things like enhanced drainage and there's things it does, but it also allows people with disabilities to play there. So it enhances your grant. They got over a 2-year period, they got 2 of them, and the 2 fields were back to back, and they now have a brand new complex by getting open space grant. It'd be a great grant. The Little League would be great if you wanted to go over to the Sunnyside. Things like improving the dugouts for handicap accessibility, putting roofs on it for shelters, that would all apply also. But what they don't fund is maintenance. So open space doesn't fund maintenance. There was some question about maintenance.
Both of these are robust, they're not maintenance management.
They are not maintenance money. They're good they're both good at either one.
So I think it's just the council's thoughts on one of these two, or it's the third that maybe Jamie didn't think of, but I think we should. Jamie's looking for feedback from the council on a preference to one of these two.
Well, for the DCA grant, actually, we have a resolution on tonight. So we drafted the resolution with the 2 different projects, depending which one you choose, and that'll be R24, I think.
The Sunnyside include grant.
No, it's improvements to the dugout, to bleachers and batting cages.
Wendy, can I just tell you this one thing by you? The Little League field, just on the north side of Roosevelt, that's on board of that property.
We actually have a lease for it,
Okay, good. Yes, okay, good. That's
Or-
good.
a license for the
And
use,
the application deadline is February 27th.
for the DCA grant, yes.
We're gonna choose one.
Right.
Either one's fine with me. They're both good grants.
I know you have questions.
Yeah, just in terms of things that you might be talking about, there's the correspondence about the Leroy Street And did we want Andy here to talk about
Yeah, definitely.
any of the flooding,
So we'll-
you know,
So
that?
good point. We'll do that before we do the administrative report,
I can say,
right?
that's fine.
Good.
Focusing on this, we just choose.
Well, you've done with this, obviously. So first off, I just want to apologize to everyone. I was at a funeral over in Richfield. That's why I'm late to see. So we covered everything to be considered, and now we're on to the administrative report.
Well, no.
Sorry, vote. We have to vote on, we have to get alignment on the rec grant, and we have to get alignment on the open space grant.
So in conjunction with the pickleball courts and original commons in general, I'm significant in the Little League field, but it would be a large positive development to the town overall, rather than diversifying. We can focus on the street pockets, make them well, so it's a very little bit. I'm good with that too.
In the Little League field, so I did go look at it, I would tell you, you need three things done there. You can apply for all three, they won't fund all three initially, but you can apply for all three. You can apply for further grants later. Synthetic turf infield, brand new dugouts that are handicap accessible with proper roofs and proper height, and then handicap accessible bathrooms, rehab that building. That all needs to be done. You can apply for all as one, and then if you don't get it, you can always apply for community development block grant to do some safe fund, that stuff.
So I was interested in Sunnyside. One of the reasons is, because the Little League fields with this kind of gray area, we're leasing it from the Board of Ed. I was also told at the time that there was going to be a lot of fundraising for improving that area, and I just think that for it to be cleaner. And also, I know Sunnyside is super used all the time. I just thought that it makes sense to go for that grant for Sunnyside. And I don't think it's been improved in quite a while.
If anybody's
This
asking,
is
I
either
got.
or situation.
It's just either or. but-
It is an either or, but it's not, because for tonight, we're looking for a resolution for the DCA grant, but there's still another grant opportunity through Bergen County.
Two of them, open space and community development.
And that's not, that resolution doesn't need to be passed tonight.
That's-
So
that's
if it's a bigger
discussion.
project, Andy, I'm not sure what the dollar amount is from the Bergen County grants. Does one lend itself better?
And I would apply for both, they get both funds towards it. You could, community development would be solely handicap accessible bathrooms that building, that would be the application you make. Open space could fund that, plus the dugouts or the field.
So what you're saying is use both the DCA local improvement grant and the county for the same site for different parts of it.
Correct, and I would just. For purposes of council. So Sunnyside. Be a little careful with Sunnyside, I think somebody said something about drainage on this side.
Yeah.
Sunnyside has a massive drainage problem.
Yeah,
And when when you get that storm, the water runs right across that field and goes next street. Any improvements there, if you did a bigger improvement, might have to be removed because the whole thing's gonna be demoed. So I just be a little careful of money you spend there because. I don't know if you plan on funding the project to take care of the drainage part. I don't, that's a 7-figure. project.
I was gonna say it's over $1 million.
Oh, no, it's over $1 million. It's a
Yeah.
big project. Because we looked at it a couple of times, but if you start replacing dugouts or put batting cage there, they'd have to, if you did the 7-figure project, they're coming out. So you have, if you got a grant for it, you got it.
What's coming out?
You'd have to take it out. That whole.
Whatever
field-
you improve, you'd have to take out to.
Oh, yes, of course.
I would just, not that you can't do the project, I think the Little League field's cleaner. Just from an engineering perspective.
It's a very well utilized field. That's the only reason I'm.
So are you kind of, what I'm hearing is the DCA grant specifically for the Little League field? Is that what we're talking
It's
about?
recreation.
One or the,
It's recreation.
for recreation.
Recreation grant, Jamie, rec director, proposed 2.
Okay,
She asked the council to choose one of those 2.
I see. Okay, got it.
So I vote on local league just because I think Sunnyside is a Band-Aid, and I think it's a bigger problem, so I would rather do something, do it right one time versus having to do something over.
I wanted, this is gonna be a little bit more of a question for Councilman Michaels though. So. With the Little League field, that's the one that I was, we talked about for a while back about how it was on the Board of Ed property, but that it wouldn't be money from the town because it was gonna be that we were gonna have a lot of fundraising for that area and the Little League parents were very interested in having a field there. So my concern is like what's happening with the maintenance of this field? Because I do remember being
I
told
agree.
that,
I mean, I think we absolutely, and we could speak to the president. There needs to be fundraising. That was part of their commitment.
right,
And I think that fundraising could either offset the, the match that the.
I'd be all on board with that, yeah.
Or I'm making the number up. I make up the number. It's 300,000, 100,000 to, the town, 100,000 to, a grant, and they raise 100,000. They made up all those numbers. But I think the point you and I are aligned is there should be some private fundraising that goes along with the development of.
It sounds like everyone's memory is correct.
Yeah.
So my concern
Just to
then-
keep one thing though, because you said that the maintenance, just wanted to point out, Andy already noted that maintenance is not covered by the grant. These are improvements.
Yeah,
So we are going to
but
need,
so my concern, given what we just said, is that if we're gonna take this opportunity, put it there in a place where we haven't had conversations about fundraising yet, and we don't have, all the parties in one room, is we're basically saying, okay, here's a lot of money for improving this area, and they haven't really yet, I'm sure they will, they've made that commitment, come to the table and we've discussed it. So that was my concern about looking at one place versus the other, where I'm like, okay, we were told that they would be,
I think you and I are aligned. I think that my expectation is, fortunately or unfortunately, this is not going to solve all the needs and improvements that are needed for the Little League field. And I would happily go with you or without you, but I would get going on how are we doing on the private fundraising.
So massively behind in that space, not there.
And there's lots of Little League that happens in Sunnyside too, so the money can be, right, if Little League raises money for Little League baseball, it can be spent at the baseball fields in Sunnyside too.
well, this initial thing was because we were gonna start up this new field, that was
One of
that.
the concerns of Sunnyside district is that there's the water issues over there. The Little League field has problems, the problem. The land isn't the right way, the fencing, the dugout, right? They're essentially identifiable, solvable problems that we can kind of put our finger on. If we decide to do a new dugout, we build a new dugout, we know what we're dealing with there, right? Or we decide not to. We know what the fence is. Problems with Sunnyside are, at least in my view, this has been like a bottom. I mean, because of the water issues, it's potentially a bottomless pit in terms of how many millions to engineer the field property. So I'd be a little concerned we don't have a full enough story about what has to happen there.
But here's the problem with that, and we live in that area.
Right.
And here's the problem with that, thinking. If we're never gonna do the big shebang, and let's assume no mayor and council is ever gonna put that amount of money in it. It was built on a swamp, for God's sake.
That's why we got it for free.
If we're never gonna do that, are we gonna let it just fall into disrepair? Because I walk it quite frequently and I'm like, these benches stink and, well, I'm sure you all are there. And that's like the
I'm not
catch 22.
suggesting we let it fall in disrepair. I mean, 15 years ago, when we were talking about doing something there, one of the problems with raising the field is that we're gonna flood all the houses around.
Of course.
So that whole kind of.
And the massive price
Yeah.
tag additional,
Right.
yeah, of course.
That's,
So,
my view is the identifiable issues are easily more successful at the league field. And so, until we get a real true story of what the water situation is gonna be.
well, I just,
I would just,
my final thought is,
I would
like,
be concerned about getting a grant
for which one?
for Sunnyside.
Okay.
And it's a grant. If you were spending your capital money to like do a dugout there. From an engineering perspective, my concern goes well and it does flood. If you get a grant and then you end up ripping everything out because you got a grant, you gotta pay the grant back. So you're caught like a catch 22.
Doing it, Got that area anytime soon.
But now we make a decision between Sunnyside and Massive Project or Just some of the ones.
All right, so what does everyone want to do?
But just my concern again is that, we were talking about fundraising and then it turned into $100,000 of town.
You need to have that conversation with Dan Cohen and the team.
Well, the only thing I would add though is, Little League may have done repairs to the dugout with fundraising. They're not going to make it ADA accessible. They're not going to make those types of accessibility upgrades. They're going to do the maintenance upgrades. So that's the only thing I would caution is, yes, there was an expectation that there would be some assistance with this, but with the grant, you get to do it bigger, better.
Good. So what is the council decided? Where are we? Little League? Sounds like. Okay.
I got my hesitation over it, but 3-2.
So we are just going to do the open space.
Some open space
Talk
discussion.
about the open space ideas.
Yeah.
Before we go to that, I'm sorry, there's also, as long as we have Andy here, there's a resolution that we'd like to add to the agenda at the end of the non-consent resolution agenda about a change order. Susan, do we need Andy's input on that?
It's a deduction.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it's just the project came in under budget, so you're gonna.
Yeah, so we'd like to add a resolution, if it's okay with the council, to decrease your spending by over $30,000.
Yeah,
Can I bring up an open space idea as we're talking about them now?
Go ahead.
Okay, so because it's a question, Sandy, but it was related to something last year. When we were talking about pickleball, some tennis courts over to pickleball courts, one of the things that came up at the time was that the tennis courts had cracks in them. And it was brought up that those were problematic. So that for $300,000 was the $250,000 to $300,000 was the cost to repair the cracks for all 7 courts. When I was reading the open space, now whether it is pickleball or not, and it could just stay a tennis court, the tennis players, like this was definitely something on Jamie Cannon's radar. I remember at the time, Councilman Michaels brought up that Jamie should pursue the Tennis Association grant, and she did.
She's doing it now.
Doing it. But I was thinking that this would be a good opportunity for a project that costs so much money for us to be able to use some of that matching funds from the open space grant. And when I was reading it, doesn't this classify, I know you said that they don't do maintenance, but the grant, it seems like they do municipal park improvement. So would this be an applicable use of that money? Because if we got the tennis and we got the county, then we really could repair all these and it's not a big cost to us at all, in theory, for a $300,000 project.
That also is to repair the cracks, not to replace the court.
No, apparently it's $900,000 to replace the court. $300,000 to do cracks. But I'll let the boss talk about how the cracks get
So
repaired.
the crack, with open space, you have to balance it. If they deem it maintenance, they won't fund it, so you have to run the package out to be.
Like we're preventing improvement, right?
The way they cracked it, they dig them out. So they saw cut them, dig them out, rebuild it back up, and then they have this product or filler called ornament repair, and it covers it. It's about to be the table is rolling down on top and then recoat the courts. The courts have a lot of areas, so the crack repair itself over those areas is pretty expensive. Probably just $200,000 to repair the cracks correctly, and then you have to recoat the courts.
Is there, can we, I want to sports definitely, it's frustrating to me that, like Andy said, these are 5 years old, and 3 years ago, we knew they were cracking everywhere. I thought we were investigating that the engineers that we used clearly did it wrong. They should have it cracking in 2 years. Where did we leave that?
I don't know the answer to that, so I tell you that the courts, the way they were done originally, was they just milled off a couple inches and repaved it, so they never did the reconstructed work. So it was never a project to reconstruct the courts, it was to do a little better maintenance, but not the full amount. So they never spent the big project number, they went for the $200,000.
Was there a warranty with that? No? No, nothing, not even.
You probably had a 1 year maintenance on.
When your maintenance bond.
You know, so you need, the way to do the courts, if you want to do the bigger project, is mill off all the pavement down to the stone, identify by rolling the soft areas below, and excavate out the soft areas, fill that with stone, recompact that in the proper manner, and then put 3 inches of base course and 2 inches of course.
I think $700 project was going to fill us.
The crack.
In other words, to rebuild the whole thing properly.
No, fix the cracks correct.
We have to talk, we have to call.
Let's take on.
If I'd like to throw that idea out, and if I might make a suggestion, I've written some grants in my day, but if we could combine it with the idea of a little bit of that ADA compliance, just because people are getting hurt or fall. That's at least what we found, like they're falling or something. So if we could maybe tug on that.
Why pursue articles instead of Park Road, which is a lesser maintenance requirement?
Instead of what?
Park Road.
Park Road.
Which is it's a gravel, right? And that would be a safer for restaurant concerned now.
Good, you've always had an asphalt course there, so nobody's ever asked for that.
I mean, I just think it'll be a lower maintenance and then a lower install cost. And you're not.
Is that better for your needs?
It's way better for you.
I don't know if it's, you're talking clay course, right?
Not clay, between the clay and clay.
Right,
It's
so,
green gravel.
Pretty expensive, those courts. That material you put in there is a controlled material, so I don't think they're any less than asphalt courts.
But they're not susceptible to the same maintenance and grant.
They're not, but they do require maintenance, they require more and weekly maintenance on your staff, so there's maintenance required.
Why don't we get a comparison so everybody understands the option?
That could be a cost for March report, an asphalt court, and your crack. I can give you a cost for that.
And probably some on data on what the maintenance, what our expectations should be on maintenance.
Other ideas?
Okay, so you have a question. But that was my proposal, so I'm
The thing we're talking about, now the tennis courts, little league field, and pickleball area. Those are all in this thing when you upgrade, you just do all these problems. That's a huge one.
sounds like a plan.
So I had 2 other ideas. One being a plan that we discussed last year, the year before. Again, we continue to make Rosella Commons better and stronger. And we were told, 850 years ago, there used to be, the original plan was to actually have an amphitheater of sorts by the new statue that the monument that we just enhanced. My proposal would be, let's continue to make the Rosella Commons area better. We just got the new multi-use area, and my idea would be for, again, amphitheater, so more green than anything else, but it's a place that we could, whatever lightly covered we can do, such that when we do have the music concert series and it rains, we can still listen to the music.
You mean like an earthen amphitheater?
Yeah, as environmentally sensitive as possible, yeah.
So I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim.
So I said, I've been walking around that area, and there's already picnic tables that aren't used, like, I feel like it's a perfect place to maybe move those concerts over, walk around, the kids to run around, safer environment, not being on the streets, so I really like that idea.
The only thing just about the concert series is we do have the band shell for the band itself, so they're always covered. I don't know how, when it rains though, it's just hard to have them outside regardless of what we're gonna do.
I think the idea is just think an amphitheater of sorts in the Rosella Commons area.
So how do we go about investigating that in a reasonable way for council to discuss it? Would you recommend? What are you?
Well, we're trying to come
So
to
the-
consensus about open space ideas.
Right, so,
So-
right, just so that, perhaps the council wants to
And
understand.
he just needs, for all of these ideas, you just need like a one pager, so that
Gotcha.
the council can look at the one pager.
Yeah, so like for the amphitheater, I need some metrics to it. So for instance, we're building right now in this spring an amphitheater. As an area where you can do anything from poetry to art to having a concert.
Yep.
In East Hanover in the corner of Original Avenue, England.
Yeah,
That project's $1.5 million. It has no coverage. It's $1.5 million. It has no coverage. So it's going to seat a lot of people. It has a park on it. It is the full Monty event.
How many people will that see?
Probably see it in the day with the, kind of going down the steps, which are very green.
Yeah.
Oriented. You can probably see 500.
Wow.
Yeah, it depends on this, because you go up top and then you have the grass area that's behind you, and that can see people too. So it was a big idea there over a period of 10 years. But I know that's what you want. If I need some metrics, you say, hey, we have a concert series, I want to amphitheater to hold
half that.
so 250 people.
Sure. And again, you also have to see how much space that.
Right, you have environmental restrictions.
I would highlight, make the monument a center point, that.
How much is a lot of space with that? Look at the map.
So I would just see if we could look at something like that. Okay.
And you want it as green as possible. You want to cover them.
So, again, I don't know anything. I'd like it as green as possible. When I say cover on it, I mean, it's like beautiful white, like it's open on all three sides of it. So it's just more, yes, in a tornado, you're not doing concert series. At a drizzle, you absolutely can do it. And that's the right, that's the whole idea.
Well, rather than open space, we're completely out of common street, about the park.
Sure.
We're covering tennis, pickleball, Little League, and everything else. We have a pond that is right from here, you guys see on, so we're looking to see like these things there, the things we can do with that, with some of these grants as well.
Impossible. So the touching the pond requires significant DEP input and oversight. So if you said to me, hey, can you clean the edges up, dredge it, I'm going to probably tell you to give me 10 years, I can probably get it from you. It probably costs $100,000 to work. It's not this. They don't let you do much around these ponds anymore. 10 years ago, it was much easier.
So there's two ideas on the table, the tennis courts, repair, the amphitheater. Is there anything else? Greg?
I think, yeah, so one more is, if you guys remember, we've already approved the first phase of the traffic study that does the traffic light, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
Part of that piece that they're working in parallel now is the idea of closing off that street, Piermont Road, the road to nowhere type thing.
Yeah.
So the street in front of Angelique, right, the train station.
The test closure, yeah.
Yes, so that's something, again, central point of our town, right next to another great park, Highland Park. The idea was an open space, again, this is heavy on the green, is how you make that road, which is not a road anymore, whatever we do with it. My imagination is more like, New York City streets, how they've closed off the streets and there's picnic benches and stone animals for kids to jump on. So it's how do you greenify that and make it a cohesive park between the old train station and.
It'd be a good open space grant.
Yeah.
So you would bollard off both ends.
Correct.
You would rip up all the pavement and curbs.
Correct.
And then you'd you'd probably use either pavers or porous asphalt and create a path through there that has benches and like we'll call it like lower scape lighting to create a nice night environment. Probably could have some string lights across that area. Yeah, and you're creating an environment that cars will never go down again. You're bringing it back to green.
That's what.
That's a great grant.
I just want to clarify, because
You're not gonna have any parking spaces.
are you talking about, I think between Hyler and Cafe Angelique, making That, see, that would take,
Isn't the pilot program to close it on where the bus stop is?
That's another piece of it. The first piece is in front of the engine.
The
Phase one
first
is-
piece was in front of the bus stop, because this is all gonna affect your EV charging stations, that's why I'm asking.
I don't believe so. I would double check. I believe it's in front of engine.
Okay, so we double check.
but that, okay,
You want to close the,
that was,
right in front of the bus stop?
yeah, there's a bus stop, there's a bus stop right there.
So the
That's the other space.
No, but the NJ Transit
Yes, exactly.
runs through both, so. My whole thing is there's also quite a lot of parking. I love the idea of making it a pedestrian plaza or all green, but there's a lot of parking. The parking is not the biggest concern. It's that there's a lot of shopper parking there, and of course you'd have to reroute your NJ Transit because it does run through that. So I think it's just a little more complicated.
We can take a look. The rerouting is already happening. So again, they're testing but let's confirm which phase it is. And then, there might be 10 spots. Right?
Yeah, there might be more than 10.
We've already gotten rid of 5 and I would love to save this if we can. Right now, it's
The
a
10.
trash space for Cafe Angelique. If we could work on that, actually.
Yeah.
We can do a whole night. I do right now, feel good about it. So we've already taken on 5 spots that we haven't had in 2 years.
I know that Wendy thought it was phase 1 was the other one because we originally had some EV charging there and we moved.
Let's just check.
Let's check it out and find out, sure.
So that would be my,
That's-
those are 3
David, that's
ideas.
part of it, yeah.
Okay,
There are 4 ideas.
But we have a couple of years tomorrow.
any other ideas?
What's
Okay.
next?
I think so.
So I
Those,
think if we can, let's confirm that any of these are valid. Let's write up a 1-pager for each and then we could share it, decide as a team.
now that the mayor is here, just wanted to ask you a little timing thing. You said that within a week you'd have the updated plan for the pool club, Mr. Mayor. I was with you along with the dog park advocates. So he's
So,
gonna update that and send that to us.
right, so we had that conference call today.
Right, yeah, and he's gonna get some of that. He's gonna get that feedback as well as some that he heard here before you came for an updated plan. And then maybe I just, because I am concerned about us coming up against the deadline of utilizing this money. What do you think makes sense? Andy, after sending us the plan, what do you need from us as far as your?
I'm gonna come back with a revised plan by next week. Give it back to you at your next meeting. I just need to say go.
Gotcha.
Good.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so just so I know, the 3 open space grants I'm gonna write up for you, like proposals, these with some, I'll give some metrics and some costs. Cracks and redo the tennis courts, amphitheater somewhere near Roosevelt Lawn, 10, and kind of size it for you. And then possibly close the road.
Yeah. Those are the 3 ideas. Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like we're completed with the to be considered section, right?
I think so.
I'm saying for Leroy.
So hold on a second, just,
He had a question.
No, it's not a question.
uh,
Yeah, he's gonna
next-
stay for the next discussion, right?
For Leroy.
correspondence.
It's a
Do that
correspondence.
right now.
Oh.
And if the council's okay with it, I'm gonna take correspondence and move it up right now.
As long as Andy's okay with it.
So we received communications from these 2 residents about paving putting a sidewalk in. Questions, anybody have concerns, or what does everybody think of it?
Do we want to invite you?
Yeah, you guys want to come up and talk about it? Come on up.
You with that?
Why don't you come to this microphone, please? Thank you for being here tonight. And just give us your name and address. Then give us a summary of your story,
Okay.
please.
My name is Jenna Lipton. I live at 193 Elm Street.
And I'm Ariella Levy. I live at 100 Leroy.
And so we're here and you have our letter. Major safety concerns. So I'm sure you've driven from Englewood on Leroy Street, Elkwood Terrace towards Englewood. The curves, even today, we are walking to Smith School And there's, bunches of kids in the middle of the street, blind curves, cars are speeding through. And our biggest concern, and we've seen it, it's actually happened to a friend of ours in Englewood, is when sidewalks get put in, people wait until somebody gets hurt. And we don't want to wait until somebody is hit by a car, a child, an elderly person walking a dog. And we're just here, we've been speaking with residents. There are 14 houses that would be affected by.
Just talking about the western side.
Yes, I know exactly. So what it would be, it's actually an extension because there is a sidewalk behind Smith School on the western side of the street. And then there's a sidewalk on East Hudson in Englewood. So it would just be connecting those two. Because the sidewalk behind Smith just kind of ends. And we've been speaking to the residents. They've all had letters. The Smith School HSA has been very supportive. They sent out numerous correspondence with the entire parent body, and we've had a lot of really positive responses.
And so we would go from where to where?
So it would go from where the existing sidewalk behind Smith School, which is by Downey,
Yep.
and it would end Elkwood Terrace at where Englewood and Tenafly border.
So right at Bliss Avenue.
So it would end on.
It would end at East Hudson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And
So
just the west.
I just want to give a little background. I know that Councilman Park always reminds me of this, that so while something like this is eligible for that, you're probably going to agree with me, something like that is eligible for that, the funding of safe schools, but that apparently that it's not even worth going for because of the amount of, like, am I right on that? Like Councilman Park always tells me.
There's grants available through DOT. And
But they're a
called
lot.
Safe Routes to School grants. So they give some metrics to it as far as timeframes. We received 3 Safe Routes to School grants in the borough of New Providence in Union County. The first one is going to construction, and the grant was received 12 years ago. How about it's up 12 years ago?
So if I remember correctly, the Board of Ed, the borough tried to do this over by Stillman School.
Still,
Right.
you gave the grant back.
Gave the grant money back
Yes.
because the engineering costs that the town was required to pay were more than the actual construction of the sidewalk.
Right, so I just want to, I remember this, I wanted to
Just
throw it out
To
there.
be fair on that, since that time, the DOT's changed their process. DOT now, if you use one of their 3 consultants they use, they will reimburse that money to you, so you have to front it and they'll reimburse it to you. So if the sidewalk, like the New Providence sidewalk, is a $400,000 sidewalk, they're putting, the first grant, which is 10 years, so almost 12 years old. The engineering cost for $400,000 sidewalk is almost $300,000. They get it all back, but the project took 12 years to construct.
Ridiculous.
It's still not done yet. It's still in game broke ground.
So even though they've improved their process, you say, I just wanted to throw it out there because is your suggestion to be like, don't think in terms of that?
Well, I never want to tell you not to go for free money. I don't do
Yeah.
that. I just, the timing is more, will decide whether you want to go for it. So if you say, I want this sidewalk in 2 years, that is not the grant to apply for. If you say, I want this sidewalk, I don't care how long it takes, then apply for the money. They'll give you money.
So could I, and I have a couple of questions for you. So first of all, thank you for putting this together. It's such a pleasure when people want to put sidewalks in, because usually it's sometimes
Yeah, we usually get the other way.
the opposite. But what percentage roughly do you think of the neighbors that will be affected or in favor of this?
Well, we put letters in all of their doors, and we have received positive feedback only, but we've only received positive feedback from 3 homes. Right. Otherwise, they've been silent. Jen has also put together an email address, an inbox for folks to send us complaints. We haven't heard a single thing. So there's been ample notification that this is something that we're looking to do. We haven't heard anything negative.
So thank you. So Andy, what would be, just in terms of the process of the council wanted to consider going down this road in terms of getting information about costs, process, how does this whole thing work? Yeah.
So that area, if I go from the school and head south, Where's Englewood?
It's,
And stay on the west side, I have an elevation problem, so I have a road that's here. In the property center to be here.
Right.
So that's gonna pose a problem on the property, so I'm gonna have to go. Usually from the edge of pavement, I have to go back, say 8 feet,
right.
and then if I have a drop of 8 feet, I need
Like that first house on Leroy and Downey, the bigger house, right? Because that goes right down.
Well, that's
So that has to be built up somehow.
right, we probably, I don't know this for a fact, I don't believe you have enough right of way to do this.
I mean,
Enough right of way?
Enough right of way, you don't.
Yeah, that's right.
you don't-
let me ask you
Probably
another
not.
question. Remember what we did on, what we did on Downey, where we actually took part of the road?
I do,
Remember that?
yep.
Is that a possibility there? Or is the road become too thin?
So Leroy's not that big of a street. I don't think you have room, but I'd have to, if I stepped you through the process, the first process would be to say, Andy, we're gonna authorize you, I'll have to come up with a number, because I do some writer research and also some road, and do some concept sketches. So
Right.
let's say for $8,000 to $10,000-ish, I can get you the exact number. I gotta do some maps together for right away. I gotta try to overlay the road onto and see where it falls, and then see if I can fit a sidewalk in it, and what will happen if I do that without doing any hard engineering. I'll just be kind of looking out there and going, I know I have an 8-foot drop, so I'll leave a wall. And I could put some cost to it for you. I would say, just by experience, knowing that area, sidewalk from that length, you're looking at a sidewalk that's probably gonna be $300,000 to $500,000.
300,000 to 500,000. So what was that, like 1,200 feet?
It's far, but the problem is, if it was only a sidewalk at grade,
Right.
it would be $80,000.
Right.
But I don't have a sidewalk at grade, and I'm building walls, and it's gonna be a chore.
And you don't have the right of way.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One is it only 1,200 feet? Because it looks like it's,
I don't know how far, it's pretty far.
it's, I think it's probably more than that,
Could be.
but we're talking about probably, 7 or 8 blocks of, that.
13 properties.
Yeah,
So,
14
13 properties,
properties,
that's
yeah.
80 to 140 frontage, it's like 1,500 feet.
Yeah.
Right, and then the other question is, there's the flooding that it has been taking place, going down into Smith School and all that. How would that affect, this whole
So this sidewalk wasn't affected, because that flooding is coming from above Victoria Lane,
coming above?
down Victoria,
Right,
into the school a little north of where they're disconnected from each other?
so that's not really an issue for this.
Not for this, no.
What if you didn't have right of way, what you mentioned before on some of these properties? What happens then? You just can't do it.
That's a legal question. Well, I know you do, but maybe Wendy can answer better than me.
I just want to educate
Yeah.
myself and.
Yeah,
Little ahead of ourselves, right?
The challenge here is what we see.
How do you- Priority property.
Solution
Ah.
is one solution, or the other solutions outside of the sidewalk that might achieve the objective of the time.
We have to look at that.
That's something we should do.
Yeah.
We're
open to considering.
Yeah, something to do with, yeah.
Striping.
So if this is prohibited in terms of cost, in terms of, ownership of property. In terms of
Just the engineering.
Exactly remains the same. That's the question. So we creatively come up with something, or at least evaluate, so we can have an alternative.
So
It sounds like if the council wants information of substance on this topic, we got to think about asking Andy to put a vote together to explain to us the process. He comes back with a number, and then we decide whether to vote on it. And then he'll outline the process so we know what we're talking about.
And maybe different options
And different
to John's point, if sidewalk is untenable.
Council want to do that?
I think so.
What's not included in this letter, which is something that I think that we'd like to mention here, is in addition to the space for walking, this street, which is, it's heavily trafficked with pedestrians and dog walkers, it is extremely dark.
Okay.
Which if you are going to be thinking creatively into how, especially in the evening hours and the short days in the winter, how to improve the safety, that is an opportunity as
Right.
well.
So let's,
Can I just say one thing? I live by Stillman School and the chief, when I've called him specifically about how people really speed around the schools, it's just stunning to me how people are speeding. He's been able to set up temporarily those watch your speed things, and that tends to really work to slow people down, you know, because if it's like, oh, you're driving this miles per hour. You know, if there are things that maybe we could do in the meantime, you know, please let us know, and then we could talk to the head of our traffic bureau.
Yeah.
But the lights sounds very
It
creative.
is, and it's that curve. It's right before, it's Bliss to East Hudson. There's that, I mean, that, if we're thinking about, if we can't do that entire area,
Okay,
if it's, I mean, the idea would be that it would really connect a sidewalk, and you can actually have a sidewalk from Smith School the entire way to Englewood. I mean, it would, there would be sidewalk the entire way. People could be walking through Englewood and have, you know, tons of sidewalk. But that one stretch, I think it's about 3 houses where there's the blind curve is really that super.
Andy,
dangerous part.
can you mark down then perhaps the particular areas she's talking about?
Oh, I know where she, I know,
You know,
I know
the
that.
option 2, if you will.
Yeah, no, I know, I know the area. really well.
Okay.
It's really. To do the right thing for you, like, you need to spend a little money. I need to, again, tie the right of way to the pavement location, is, you know, concept. And then show you what your options are, whether it's narrowing the street and moving it out, taking right away. I can't build the product, you know, it's not an easy area. It's not, it's.
All right, so let's put this proposal together. That'll take us to the next step in this process.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
for
for considering us.
organizing.
Thank
and
you.
Appreciate your work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy, for saying.
Thanks, Andy. This is like the longest.
Yeah, anything else?
Do we need anything from the administration report?
Do we have a list for
Um,
you?
It's on the agenda already.
Okay. Okay, so Andy, I think you're free to go. Wait. Andrew, did you have a question? I think we did, right? Okay, while he's here, come up to the microphone, because I know what you're gonna ask about. Got a little bit of, good night. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Andrew, just give us your address, please.
Andrew Michaelis, 50 Sherwood Road. And I apologize, I usually don't like to come to you guys with residence issues. But there is a safety issue on Sherwood Road that I fortunately feel that I need to bring to your attention. Sherwood Road was repaved in 2022, I believe. And that winter, we've had some icing issues that never happened before. Water basically flowed from side to side and across the pavement in areas we never had an issue. So I started taking pictures, didn't know exactly what to do about it. Then by last summer, I realized that there's a paving problem. So I contacted the mayor, who told me to contact DPW and Andy. So sent a whole bunch of pictures indicating it's basically what happens is there's water flowing, there's water sources, it's in a hill, there's always water. And instead of staying near the curve, it's so flat that it literally just picks random places to cross the street. And by the morning, it's a sheet of black ice. No rain, no precipitation, you don't expect it. You work till early in the morning and guess what? There's ice 10 feet wide, literally across the road, multiple places. The only way to get around is spikes or local somebody's around it. It's a pavement, it has a major structural problem.
So the photos you sent me this morning, they sent them all to David.
Yeah.
So how do we resolve this?
So we have to put a drain in. So we have a drain not too far away from the low point. We have to run a drain up across the street. There's a secondary problem. There's a homeowner who has a sub pump there that pumps 24/7 and floods the road all day. So we have to connect that too. If we put the drain in and connect it, it would go away.
So it's not a rebuilding, it's not as simple as arching the road, pitching the road.
No, we can fix it with 2 drains at the low point on each side, connecting to the drain street and connecting that sub pump.
And there's a storm sewer system on that street already.
There is
How far?
50 feet, maybe a little more. So 50,
Say it again?
it's about 50 feet away.
50
It's
feet.
one property. From where it looks.
So it's not like the pavement that was put in there was like icy attracting type of road.
Yeah, you can look at old aerials. If you look at old aerials, that is very flat there. You know, it was just a mill and paved. There was no drainage put in. You can't take flat spots out in the middle and pave. There's nothing you can do. It would be a full reconstruct. And the job was not a reconstruction. But we can add, if it's a problem for the neighbors, we can add drains in. We're gonna get a price from the cooperative to do that.
The co-op,
Yeah.
do you want to say something?
They won't do it in the paving part of the cooperative.
They what?
They won't do in the paving. They'll do it in the, they will not add drainage. The Riverside Cooperative has what we call their emergency contract, which is not technically emergency, you can use it for anything you want. You can get a price for drainage.
So how do we do that?
I'm gonna get that for you and present it to you, and you
You can
can,
get that for us and present to us. Can we get that for the next meeting?
I'm trying, I already asked for it. Last time we had met, I asked the
Okay.
guy contractor, he hasn't been that responsive because it's winter time, but he's back working.
Okay. Okay, let's find out.
Okay, I would love to,
Great.
Yes.
I would love to, because part of it is literally it's true, the water is flowing. And then you can see that the pavement has a little bump in it along the curb. So the water just goes to the street.
Yeah, I mean, other than the drains, it's a full reconstruction. I'm not sure you, I mean, you could do that, but I'm not sure you need
The range sound like less of a,
a lot less.
yeah, a lot
Yeah.
less of a.
So thank you. Whatever you guys can do, the street will appreciate it.
It's forthcoming.
And look, we'll love to find out.
Next meeting.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay,
Thank you.
so now I think we understand.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I know why Linda's here and she's not an Andy question.
Right.
Yeah, I guess.
Take safe travel back.
Okay, administrators report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Day number 2, we had a snowstorm.
Good.
Yesterday, we had some collective bargaining, labor negotiation and sessions. On the administrator's report on the agenda, there are a number of grant links, so I want to go through that. I think the most pressing for tonight is the local recreation grant that has a deadline of February 27th, and we'll take the priority order of the grant deadlines as they approach.
Okay.
So we can get back to you on that. I did have an opportunity to attend the team meeting of the Spring Fling committee this morning, and there are a couple of issues, or not issues, but questions of borough participation with the council. For their meeting in 2 weeks, and then probably for the next council meeting. Some things such as banners for the polls in the area. And some of their questions about their license and so on. So we'll have that in due course for you as well.
Okay. Any questions for the administrator at all? Second day, we'll have all the answers. Thanks for joining the borough, by the way, and welcome. aboard.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so we'll go to public comment time now. Audience members wishing to address will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body on any items. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent. So who here would like to speak? Please come to the microphone. And of course, we'll need your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Linda Trumbicki. I'm a 25-year resident of 29 Mill Road in Tenafly. I'm here for a second or third time. About a year ago, I came and asked the committee to, or brought to the attention of the committee, the fact that I had put in a request to have a few trees cut down because I was trying to put solar power in, and these trees were obstructing my view or obstructing the possibility of making solar effective. So, you know, as time went on, I know that there's different committees here that are looking into the solar power. But I'm here tonight specifically to ask one question. You know, I'm wondering if the tree code allows me to make a formal hardship appeal for the purpose of using solar power. So there is an exception in 26-1.6C that enables a hardship appeal in some circumstances, but I don't know if you'd consider solar power to be included in that as a way for me to make a request.
So I just want to give everyone background. So I asked Linda to come and ask the town attorney herself, so we could all hear the answer. I have visited the property, but it's not about can she or can't she yet. It's just about can she follow that procedure, the same procedure that we have for other hardship appeals, where people say, you know, can I remove this tree? And I was hoping that our council could tell you that answer.
Perfect, thank you.
So what do you think of that?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. So,
Yeah, the only thing is there's timelines by which you're supposed to file the appeal, so you may actually have to request a permit to remove in order to comply with those timelines.
In other words, reapply, in other words, put a
Correct.
new application in.
Correct.
She hadn't done it previously.
no, I had put an application, Mike looked at them and I hadn't met really any of any of the seven, exceptions.
So in other words,
So,
the process is make the application, get rejected, then make the appeal.
Correct.
okay, and there were three trees. One, I actually do have permission to cut because it does actually meet one of the conditions. But there's two remaining trees and, I hope you'll consider it favorably. But I guess the procedures are still the procedures that are in this particular category, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so I just have to time it. Just quickly, I didn't notice time period.
Look under 1.14.
1 point. I'm sorry, what was that again?
1.14.
1.14. Okay, so I'll check that later then. Okay, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Linda,
it.
just before I let you go, I know you have new neighbors now. Did you get an opportunity to talk to them? The newer people moved in.
They have no problem. I mean, if I cut the tree, but I will have to give them, of course, official notice because it's close to the border. It's definitely my tree, but I'll go according to all the normal scenarios, within that. So.
So have you discussed this at length at all of the environmental commission?
Yeah, and I've been to her house and we've discussed it. The environmental commission came down and completely split. So there were, but I think it was important to visit the property to kind of see what her property looks like, how many trees there are there. So we had half of the commission felt that the benefits that you get with getting solar power outweigh, those three trees that are just tall and thin, but they're very tall. Whereas the other half was looking at the fact that the trees have the benefits a little bit more than the solar power. But everybody would, I would say collectively in that meeting, understood that there's quite a lot of benefit to having solar panels.
Right.
The carbon and the energy efficiency, some of these things that are our goals. So that was meetings previously, then I went and visited the property. And then I just had suggested for Linda to come and hear the procedure for herself.
No, exactly, because it makes sense for me to, not waste time in sending out all these notices if it's not even a possibility.
Why wouldn't we ever consider tweaking code to allow for solar panels to be installed?
Well, it doesn't seem like we really need to do that as of yet. She's literally the first person
Okay, so let's.
to come.
Okay.
And then, so,
Well,
I'm gonna put you through the ringer.
no, that's my mantra, I suppose.
These are big ones.
There you go. I guess if you put it in the code, maybe it might not have to have mitigation, whereas I guess this way it seems that mitigation is required. So I don't know if that's,
Depends how they would decide to write it in.
well, that's true, right? So I'm always hopeful. What can I say?
Okay.
because at least now you know.
Let's see what
Okay.
happens. Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you
Thanks for
very much.
coming, Linda.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And your perseverance.
I'm like a doll down in the book.
That's what she wants.
Okay, are there anyone else who would like to make any public comments here? And it doesn't look like there's anyone online who would like to make a public comment, right? Okay, so we're gonna close the public comment period.
And then we have a resolution that we have to add.
It's already on the agenda.
It's on there.
To the non-consent agenda.
Yeah, that's already there, but there's another resolution for change order that we're adding to the non-consent agenda.
What's the number? Or 24-101?
It would be 101, yes.
Okay, all right. Can I have a motion, please, to approve R2491 through R2496? Could I have a second? Can you please call the roll?
Okay. Councilmember Corsair,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Rotglieri.
Yes. Okay, could I have a motion to approve resolution 24-97? So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Corsair,
Yeah.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Ruggieri.
Yes.
Have a motion to approve resolution R 24-98, please.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Corsair,
Yeah,
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Ruggieri.
Have a motion to approve resolution R 24-99, please. Second, please.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Corsair,
yes,
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Ruggieri.
Yes.
Have a motion to approve resolution R 24-100, please.
Hold on.
Go ahead, you have a question?
This submission, just to make clear, this would authorize the Little League field to be the subject matter for the submission.
Okay, I have a motion to approve R 24-100. Have a second, please.
second,
Okay, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Corsair,
yeah,
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Ruggieri.
Yes.
I have a motion to approve resolution R 24-101, please.
So just to again, Jeannie, do you have that one? Just to read the title off, but it's a savings of just over $30,000, yes. Right. So it's a change order for the NJDOT fiscal year 2021 Angle Street roadway improvement project from Hudson to Highwood. The total was $147,469.97. This would approve a change order to reduce the total cost to $116,821.29.
Very good. I have a motion to approve that, please.
So
Have a second.
second,
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Corsair,
yes,
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
and Councilmember Ruggieri.
yes.
I get a motion to approve the minutes of January 30th, 2024 closed session and January 30th, 2024 mayor and council meeting.
So
Have a second.
second,
All in favor?
Oh, sorry, before you do, just one,
I'm doing both of them.
yeah, just a question on the open one. Since Chief Chamberlain is here, in the beginning, under presentation, it said Chief Chamberlain conducted a swearing-in ceremony for the following officers, and the officers are not mentioned. I just thought we should put.
Accuracy.
So
So we make a change.
it
Edit to
just
that.
it looks like change.
So you're gonna list out the officers.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so could I get a motion to approve the minutes with the names of the officers added to the mayor and council meeting? Minutes, please.
So moved.
I have a second.
second,
All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Open, I skipped old business. My apologies. Does anyone have any old business to bring up?
No, we did a lot of old business during engineers. So we were
Not
very good at
Luckily, the engineer left, right?
that.
Okay, for the good of the order, Councilwoman Corsair, you want to talk about downtown life?
Yes, so one of the main things that was brought up during our campaigning was to improve the curb appeal of the downtown. One place where I think there's a lot of potential is downtown lighting. To light it up, especially during the winter months where it gets dark pretty early, the downtown feels pretty dark and desolate. So, I spoke to Susan, who is amazing, and she went through all the back budgets, and she found that we have about $100,000, a little less than $100,000, that is from the American Rescue Plan that is specifically for downtown lighting, and it has to be used this year or it goes away. So, I have ideas. I have pictures of ideas, but I don't know how I could share them here. But about maybe uplighting some trees downtown on Washington. that's for aesthetics. And then there's some safety kind of lighting that we might talk about. I don't know if Oresco Park falls into the downtown. I don't know what the borders of the downtown are, but it gets very dark and you could want to walk from Municipal Center downtown. You know, I think we'll talk about maybe how to light it up there, but I think these are conversations that we need to start having. So we can get that going and get it done, you know.
So
Okay,
then,
so-
oh, I was
Go ahead,
thinking,
Julie.
so I was thinking then that, the best way for Councilwoman Corsair, to proceed, as I'm very supportive of, first of all, encumbering the money so we don't lose it, was number one, but also number two is the safety piece. I'm a big walker and I like things to be lit. So, what do you think about maybe communicating, so we get a plan with the police department? So that, you know, like, I mean, like how
So the way.
do you
Right,
see?
the way to move this forward.
Yeah,
Is
the
that
plan.
the councilwoman sends all your photographs and all your information, send it to the clerk, distribute to the council
Okay,
for the next meeting. Put
okay,
it on to be considered, right? Then we have a whole council, everyone will have an opportunity to look at the photographs. We know that there's X amount of dollars in there, should be included. And include Susan in that email, so the council understands where the money's coming from. We talk about it at the council meeting, and then, we decide.
But how will she know like the cost?
Well, because we're not there yet.
right.
She's got a concept she wants to talk about, then it's gotta go out to bid or the normal process. Perhaps it goes to the DPW then to take a look at it, so we can get Cassie to weigh in, along with the police chief.
And if we could, if it's like uplighting cost X per uplight, then we could kind of go and say, you know, these are the places that.
That's what I was thinking. It
Take-
makes more
take-
sense to know the cost and then say, oh, I'll do top five.
Right, let's start with the concept with the council first, before we start getting costs together. This is just as a matter of kind of information.
Perfect.
If we gather costs from vendors before it becomes part of the process, very often, you correct me if I'm wrong, those vendors are then excluded from participating in it.
Okay,
Okay, so
so the
send
one,
it to the clerk's office and we'll put it on the next agenda.
the one question I had is what are the borders of like where this downtown?
The American Rescue Funds would be.
Okay, it's all downtown. All right,
Absolutely.
perfect. All right, great.
Okay,
But before she does, wouldn't it be worth also hearing from the chief if there were areas in town that he thought should be lit from that area, like?
Chief,
would
it
that
sounds
be-
like you're being volunteered to come to the next meeting.
Or at least to talk now, like,
We don't really press that, so we just do like safe.
yes, no, yeah, to throw that in the mix, are there some areas where you're like, because I know for me, as I've spoken to Councilman, of course, they're like. Behind this building, walking to Oresco over that bridge, very dark.
Very
Is there something that is occurring to you that we should throw in the mix?
I'm not aware of it now, but if you want us to involve and help out.
We can,
So group the chief in also.
yeah, well, we
Sure.
can walk it in.
Yeah, lighting is safety.
All right,
We have to balance, I think, the safety and the aesthetic.
Oh, for sure.
upcoming meetings.
So I just want to let the council know that the DP has passed requirements to make the stormwater rules more stringent and part of that will be ready past the salt storage shed ordinance that's already gone into effect. There's going to be the stormwater as well as looks at the tree ordinance as well to make sure that we're compliant with the new requirements that DP is putting out.
Okay, anything else? Done?
Nope.
Okay,
That will be coming soon.
Okay.
all right, new business here. Introduction of ordinance 2402. Omar, would you like to, Omar, that Omar, Banu, would you like to make the motion, please?
Sure. I move to introduce and pass on first reading ordinance 24-02 and set the hearing for March 5th, 2024 at 8 p.m. or as soon thereafter in the Tenafly Municipal Center.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Jeannie, you want to read the title of the ordinance and conduct the roll call?
Ordinance 2402.
Yes.
An ordinance amending chapter 2, article 2, section 2.8-4 of the revised general ordinances to amend the responsibilities of the borough administrator.
Call the roll, please.
Corsair, Councilman Corsair,
Yes.
Councilman Menon, Councilman Michael,
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Connor,
Yes.
and Councilman O'Leary.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, committee reports. We'll start with you, Councilwoman.
So the Historic Society was looking to see if there was any updates on what was going on with the electrical at Angelique.
Okay, so yes, there is. So we all know the backstory to the challenges of getting electricians in there. We had an electrician who came in, looked it over, would like to do the work. Susan, why don't you come to the microphone? You want to talk about this also a little bit? The money's involved. And so, right, so the electrician, who's a local electrician, recommended we do.
The train station.
It's called an kind
Oh,
of
the train
infrared scan of the building.
Okay.
A vendor comes in, does an infrared scan, it costs just under $2,000.
Here's
$1,800, and it measures kind of the hot spots in the building. And then from those measurements, they provide the borough with a list of, you have to fix this outlet, you have to replace that light, okay? And we're going to go ahead and do that, produce that punch list. Then we'll be able to give it to the electrician to actually get the work done.
When's that gonna happen? Do we have a date?
I think they could do it as soon as possible.
Um,
They submitted all their paperwork. We could approve, a requisition can go in, we could approve the PO.
Right.
They could do the work.
This is just a check of the building or no problem?
So, okay, so the railroad station, the original plans to, or I should say, the latest large plan to change some of the lighting at the railroad station. The recommendations were kind of beyond the scope of just repairs. It was also new lighting to go in, which meant they had to drill through the sandstone walls, which are 18 inches thick, I think it is, Susan, right? Drill through the sandstones, put new sconces on the outside. The costs that came back from the electricians that were interested were just astronomical, outside the budget, and very few wanted to do it.
Over 6 figures.
Over 6 figures, okay, for what is maybe under $10,000 for electrical repairs. One of the things we learned in this process, it's very interesting, as I mentioned, the stone walls are sandstone. So when you drill through sandstone for electrical wires, the heat turns the sand into glass, and it becomes exceedingly difficult to actually drill. So most electricians don't want any part of this, and it's a historic building, which makes it even more challenging. So we've told the local electricians, what we want to do is just do the repairs of the existing structure. And that has brought us to creating a punch list so people know how to price the job. And it was recommended we do this infrared thing as being the most, safest, appropriate thing to do. So it's all underway. It's all imminent at this stage.
So if I could add, you still have a $70,000 grant on the table, matching grant of 35,000. So we are spending about almost 44,000 for roof repairs and a cupola for the train station and painting. That came out of an escrow account. So that 70,000 is still on the table, and we got an extension from the county of Bergen to extend the grant. So that really needs to be spent pretty soon. So the electrical work and everything else in the scope of work should be looked at, and us try to get it done.
And the materials for the roof have already been received by the vendor. We're just waiting for warm weather so that they can start. Is that it? Thank you, Susan. Does that answer your question? Anything else? John? Adam? Julie?
I just want to encourage everybody to, for the Tenafly Nature Center to support the Nature Center by becoming members, as well as they have a legacy brunch coming up on March 10th, and it is from 11:30 to 2:30 over in Closter at the Brasserie. Tickets are still available.
I bought my ticket.
There's going to be an online auction. Well, there's going to be an auction there, but you'll see the items in advance of then as well. So please come out and support.
Anything else?
I think we're good.
Anu?
Just a meeting of the Board of Adjustment. There were two applications. I'm sorry, two requests for variance. And one of them, they were both approved. One of them was multiple requests for different things for a new single family dwelling. That was approved. And then another one for an existing garage where they needed to extend kind of make it bigger so that they could accommodate a car. At the moment, it seemed like they weren't able to accommodate even a small car, you know, so they,
Small.
yeah, so they got the approval for that. So that's it.
Anything else? That's it? Oh, thank you. Okay, mayor's remarks. The only remark I have is that I'm going to appoint Lieutenant Michael Greeley to the Office of Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator. Then we're going to go into closed session. You want to read the language, please?
Resolution R 24-102 at the meeting of the mayor and council of the borough of Tenafly, county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, held on February 13th, 2024. Be it resolved that in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the mayor and council of the borough of Tenafly are going into closed executive session to discuss the following matters. Under personnel, senior center, contract negotiations, SRO agreement and dispatchers, and real property potential acquisition. Minutes will be taken of the meeting and released to the public at the time that the matter is resolved.
Can I get a motion to go into close, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah,
Thank you, everybody.
thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe the danger's covered by the thrill. 'Cause I know I should be running.